Cybersecurity systems are facing a critical challenge. Despite significant investments, they often fail to protect organizations effectively. This is largely due to an overwhelming flood of alerts that can distract teams from addressing the most pressing vulnerabilities. On September 25, 2025, the Hacker News reported on the introduction of Continuous Threat Exposure Management, or CTEM. This approach focuses on prioritizing and validating vulnerabilities based on their actual risk to the business, rather than merely reacting to a barrage of alerts. By doing so, it aims to streamline efforts and enhance overall security. In this video, we'll explore the shortcomings of traditional vulnerability management, the principles behind CTEM, and how advanced technologies like Adversarial Exposure Validation can transform the way organizations manage their security risks. If you found this update helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to InfoSec Now for the latest cybersecurity news. Your support really helps us continue building useful content for cybersecurity professionals. Continuous Threat Exposure Management, CTEM, represents a paradigm shift in how organizations approach cybersecurity by emphasizing prioritization and validation. Traditional vulnerability management often overwhelms teams with a high volume of alerts, many of which are not relevant to their specific risk landscape. This has led to a reactive rather than proactive stance, where security resources are stretched thin chasing false alarms instead of addressing genuine threats. CTEM addresses these shortcomings by focusing on the real business impact of vulnerabilities. By implementing a prioritization framework, organizations can rank exposures based on their potential to affect critical assets rather than relying solely on abstract severity scores. This method allows security teams to concentrate on vulnerabilities that truly pose a risk, thereby optimizing their efforts and resources. Validation is equally crucial in the CTEM framework. It involves testing prioritized exposures against the organization's unique environment to determine which vulnerabilities could realistically be exploited by attackers. This is where Adversarial Exposure Validation, AEV, technologies play a significant role. They provide a continuous assessment of security controls through automated processes, ensuring that the validation of threats keeps pace with the dynamic nature of modern IT infrastructures. By employing tools like breach and attack simulation (BAS) and automated penetration testing, organizations gain insights into their security posture from an attacker's perspective. These technologies simulate real-world attack scenarios, allowing teams to understand not just what vulnerabilities exist, but which ones are actionable and which security measures are effective. This approach transforms the security landscape from one of uncertainty and chaos into a structured and evidence-based strategy. Furthermore, as the cyber threat landscape evolves, the types of exposures organizations face are becoming increasingly diverse. Gartner predicts that by 2028, over half of these exposures will come from non-technical sources, such as misconfigured applications and human error. CTEM's comprehensive approach ensures that organizations are equipped to tackle these emerging vulnerabilities, reinforcing the need for ongoing adaptation in security strategies. In summary, continuous threat exposure management is not merely a new tool, it is a necessary evolution in cybersecurity. By prioritizing and validating threats effectively, organizations can focus their resources on what truly matters, enhancing their overall security posture and resilience against cyber threats. Traditional vulnerability management has long operated under a flawed paradigm. Identify every potential weakness, assign a severity score, and patch accordingly. While this approach may seem methodical, it has become increasingly ineffective in the face of evolving cyber threats. Security teams are inundated with thousands of alerts daily, leading to a state of perpetual urgency rather than focused action. The sheer volume of vulnerabilities, with over 40,000 common vulnerabilities and exposures, CVEs, reported annually, has created a crisis of prioritization. Many vulnerabilities are labeled as critical based solely on abstract scoring systems, such as CVSS and EPSS, which fail to account for the specific context of an organization's security posture. This results in a misallocation of resources, as teams chase after vulnerabilities that may not pose a real threat, while overlooking those that could lead to significant breaches. Moreover, traditional methods often neglect the complexities of modern IT environments. As organizations increasingly rely on cloud services and dynamic infrastructures, static assessments fall short. The reality is that only about 10% of vulnerabilities are truly critical when considering existing security controls. This means that a staggering 84% of alerts labeled as critical may be misleading, diverting attention and resources away from actual risks. To address these shortcomings, Continuous Threat Exposure Management (CTEM) introduces a paradigm shift. By focusing on prioritization and validation, CTEM enables security teams to concentrate on exposures that genuinely threaten business operations. Prioritization assesses vulnerabilities based on real business impact rather than abstract severity scores, while validation tests these exposures in the specific context of the organization's environment. Key to this process are Adversarial Exposure Validation (AEV) technologies, which provide the necessary insights to distinguish between theoretical risks and practical threats. These technologies, including breach and attack simulation (BAS) and automated penetration testing, allow teams to simulate real-world attack scenarios. They reveal not only which vulnerabilities are exploitable but also how effectively existing security measures can mitigate those threats. This shift from a reactive, volume-driven approach to a proactive, evidence-based strategy empowers organizations to enhance their cybersecurity posture. By leveraging CTEM, teams can transform overwhelming alerts into actionable insights, ensuring that they focus on what truly matters in protecting their assets from cyber threats. In the evolving landscape of cybersecurity, Adversarial Exposure Validation (AEV) technologies play a crucial role in enhancing the effectiveness of Continuous Threat Exposure Management (CTEM). These technologies are designed to address the limitations of traditional vulnerability management by providing a more nuanced understanding of security threats. The first pillar of AEV is breach and attack simulation (BAS), which continuously mimics the tactics of real-world attackers. By emulating various adversarial techniques, such as ransomware deployment and lateral movement across networks, BAS allows organizations to test their defenses in a controlled environment. This proactive approach not only identifies vulnerabilities but also assesses the effectiveness of existing security measures against potential threats. The ongoing nature of BAS ensures that security teams remain vigilant, adapting to new tactics as they emerge. Complementing BAS, automated penetration testing (APT) takes validation a step further by simulating complex attack scenarios that mirror the behavior of actual attackers. APT enables security professionals to chain vulnerabilities and misconfigurations, revealing intricate paths that could lead to significant breaches. This capability is particularly vital in dynamic environments where assets frequently change, as it provides timely insights into the most pressing security gaps that need immediate attention. Together, these technologies transform how organizations prioritize and validate exposures. Instead of being overwhelmed by theoretical alerts, security teams gain a clear view of which vulnerabilities pose genuine risks. This shift allows for a more strategic allocation of resources, ensuring that efforts are focused on the most critical threats that could impact business operations. Moreover, AEV technologies extend beyond traditional vulnerabilities, addressing non-technical weaknesses such as misconfigured applications and human errors. As Gartner predicts, by 2028, a significant portion of exposures will originate from these areas. AEV's ability to validate these exposures in context empowers organizations to adapt their security strategies accordingly, reinforcing defenses where they are most vulnerable. In summary, adversarial exposure validation technologies are not just supplementary tools, they are integral to the CTEM framework. By providing actionable insights into the real-world applicability of security measures, AEV enables organizations to transition from a reactive posture to a proactive stance, ultimately enhancing their overall cybersecurity resilience. The Log4j vulnerability serves as a pivotal case study in understanding the efficacy of Continuous Threat Exposure Management (CTEM) and the role of Adversarial Exposure Validation (AEV) technologies. When Log4j emerged, the cybersecurity landscape was immediately flooded with alerts and warnings, with traditional vulnerability management systems categorizing it as a critical threat due to its high CVSS score. This initial response, however, did not account for the contextual nuances within individual environments. As security teams scrambled to address the overwhelming number of alerts, they often found themselves in a reactive state, treating every instance of Log4j as equally urgent. This approach led to resource depletion and a lack of focus on truly exploitable vulnerabilities. In contrast, AEV technologies introduced a more sophisticated methodology that allowed teams to assess the real-world implications of Log4j within their specific contexts. By leveraging the prioritization and validation principles of CTEM, teams were able to determine that not every Log4j instance warranted immediate action. For example, some systems had robust web application firewall (WAF) rules or compensating controls that significantly reduced their risk levels. This insight transformed the urgency of the response, allowing teams to integrate Log4j patches into their normal maintenance cycles rather than mobilizing an all-hands-on-deck reaction. Conversely, AEV also illuminated scenarios where seemingly low-risk vulnerabilities could lead to significant security breaches. A misconfiguration in a SaaS application, once deemed a minor issue, could chain to critical data exfiltration, thereby escalating its priority status. This dual capability of AEV, identifying both low and high-risk exposures, highlights its importance in refining vulnerability management practices. The Log4j case exemplifies the shift from a one-size-fits-all approach to a more nuanced, evidence-based strategy that aligns with the realities of modern cyber threats. As organizations adopt CTEM, they are not merely chasing alerts but are instead focused on validating threats that genuinely impact their operational landscape. This evolution in cybersecurity management represents a necessary response to the complexities of today's threat environment, ensuring that teams are equipped to defend against real risks rather than hypothetical ones. As organizations navigate the complexities of cybersecurity, the future of validation lies in the integration of continuous threat exposure management, CTEM, with advanced technologies like Adversarial Exposure Validation, AEV. This evolution is not merely a response to the current landscape but a proactive strategy to refine how vulnerabilities are assessed and addressed. CTEM redefines the approach to cybersecurity by emphasizing prioritization and validation. Rather than overwhelming teams with high volumes of alerts, it focuses on identifying the exposures that genuinely pose a risk to the business. This shift is crucial as Gartner projects that by 2028, the majority of security exposures will arise from non-technical weaknesses, such as misconfigured applications or human error. Such vulnerabilities require a nuanced approach that traditional methods simply cannot provide. Central to this strategy are AEV technologies, which automate the validation process and deliver insights from an attacker's perspective. By employing breach and attack simulation (BAS) and automated penetration testing, organizations can continuously assess their defenses against real-world attack scenarios. This ongoing validation not only identifies exploitable vulnerabilities but also evaluates the effectiveness of existing security controls in real time, ensuring that organizations are not just reactive but also strategically prepared. Moreover, the dynamic nature of modern infrastructures means that static assessments are increasingly inadequate. AEV technologies adapt to the rapid changes in environments, providing timely insights that empower security teams to prioritize their efforts effectively. This agility is essential in a landscape where threats evolve daily and the cost of inaction can be catastrophic. Looking ahead, events like the PICU's BAS Summit 2025 will serve as platforms for thought leaders to explore the intersection of AI and attack simulation, further shaping the future of security validation. By embracing these advancements, organizations can transition from a mindset of merely managing vulnerabilities to one of actively validating and mitigating risks, ensuring a stronger security posture in an ever-evolving threat landscape. If you found this update helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to InfoSec Now for the latest cybersecurity news. Your support really helps us continue building useful content for cybersecurity professionals.